I had a chance to watch The Babysitter Killer Queen over the weekend, and I have some mixed things to say about it. So let's get to it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mashup. I'm Justin McGill, and today I'm reviewing The Babysitter Killer Queen. 2 years after defeating a satanic cult led by his babysitter B, Cole once again has to outsmart the forces of evil when old enemies unexpectedly return. So you've not seen the first one. The first movie, as I said in the synopsis, is basically a babysitter who is a part of a satanic cult that tries to kill the kid that she's babysitting, who is young and innocent, to try to appease Satan and whatever glory they're trying to get from that. Of course, they fail in their attempts and Cole is the victor, but the babysitter gets away. Dun dun dun. And now we have a sequel. What's interesting is the sequel doesn't necessarily give a very good reason as to why the plot is the way it is and why we have the characters come back from the first one to go after Cole again. Because the basic premise as to why the characters go after Cole from the first one, which carry over into the second one, is each of the characters has an individual desire that they feel that cannot be met in their normal life. So B, who has made a pact with the devil, comes to them and says, I can give you this if you sign your name in the book of the devil. That's basically what it is, or the devil's book. So because they do this, the cult says you have to kill a innocent and take their blood basically and drink from it, and then you will have your desires met. So from that standpoint, that part of the plot I can work with, and that part actually makes kind of sense. And that leads me to my next topic as far as the new characters, because the whole point of this movie is you have the old and new characters, and obviously some of the new characters have to be involved to bring the old characters back in some way, so that's why we are where we have. So from the original movie, you have the parents of Cole, Cole himself, you have the three little minions, what I call them, or B's minions, and you have B herself, and then of course you have Melanie, who is Cole's best friend, his friend from the first one, and you have three other characters. So if you haven't already picked it up, which I'm sure a lot of you have, from the first one you had B and three minions, and you have Melanie, and you have three other characters. Trying to spoil too much, but that's kind of a dead giveaway. Honestly, I don't think we needed all that. The three new characters that are introduced, I think it's like Boom Boom and two other people. I mean, they're not even worth knowing. They don't really do anything. They just are fluff. They're just like wasted characters. I mean, yeah, a couple of them have some one-liners that are kind of funny and stuff like that, but I just thought, you're kind of in the way, leave it to the other three, Belle Thorne and the others, go do something else. I don't know, get killed, do something. To me, this didn't seem like they were needed at all. You could have just kept Melanie and maybe one more character and then go on. I will say that the other new character, Jenna Ortega, who plays Phoebe, I did like her character a lot, and I think that honestly, if you just had Melanie and the Phoebe character, who instantly you think is this wonder who just comes into town and joins class and is kind of has this mysterious kind of like darkness about her, you think automatically she must have something up and she may be the reason why, things are happening at first. You can kind of get that, vibe. As the movie goes on, you obviously don't think that's true, but you know that she's hiding some type of secret. So it's kind of weird to think that you can just have Melanie and Phoebe and then not have the other three characters and have your original cast, and then that'd be your movie. Next, let's talk about the parents. Now, I honestly think that they could have just not been in the movie. I honestly did not enjoy their parts at all. I know that they need to be part of the story because this movie is trying to tell two different stories at the same time, really, I feel like. You have Cole, who had a very traumatic experience from the first movie, and his parents don't believe him about this cult trying to go after him and his babysitter trying to kill him, even though the babysitter cannot be found anywhere, and you had people murdered and whatever in your house, so there's kind of oblivious to that, and they think that Cole is crazy. So trying to get him to take pills and, send him off to a psychiatric camp and stuff like this. And they keep, pushing it hard throughout the whole movie from the parents aspect. But then you have the dad, who I love, it's Nick Marino. I love him as, as an actor, but I thought that his character and Melanie's dad, they're just kind of I didn't really need all this. I mean, I don't need all that. Their comedy, I don't think was very good. I don't think their jokes landed very well. I mean, taking a bong hit and stuff like that where your son is not being found. I mean, come on. I just don't think that was necessary or needed. So honestly, if it were up to me and it was my movie, because I'm reviewing this as if I'm the viewer and I, can make changes and whatever, I would say I would get rid of the parents. Have them in the beginning, have them have the concern, but not really show them throughout until the end, just like you did in the first one, because that worked out very well for them. And on that topic, let's talk about the comedy of the movie. Now, I get that this movie is made by McGill, who also made Charlie's Angels, and it's very similar to Happy Death Day because it has this kind of horror comedy vibe to it. And for the most part, there are parts that work. And what I mean by that is I think the actual comedy aspect to the actual killings, that's what works best. I don't think the crew jokes, the jokes about drugs and sex and all this other stuff that they do, I just don't think it works. To me, it just takes away from the movie. I kind of was talking about it before, but you have a movie, I think two stories, there are two lessons to be learned. You have the cult plot, and then, Cole trying to survive, and then you have the part about, hey, I'm not crazy, I don't want to be on pills. It's kind of this side message, because they talk about all these kids in high school having to be on pills, and that's kind of a product of today's society. So I think it's kind of two messages really that they're trying to convey in the movie with these plots, but those are two kind of semi-serious things, and then you have like these stupid crude jokes in the middle that don't really do anything. So it just kind of takes away from both of those. What I think made the first movie kind of successful was you just had, well, I mean, it was a different environment, of course, because you had a babysitter at a house with a kid, and you had these friends that came over and tried to kill him, but you just had the comedic aspects of killing because you had this kid trying to defend himself and killing people in different ways, and they were funny. Same premise really for this second movie too. You have them set in this environment of this kind of campground lake area, which I'm guessing, I've never been to California, in this area at least, or Nevada or Arizona, wherever they're at, because this lake is supposedly a forest, but it's mostly a mountainous area. I live in West Texas, so this looks like home to me anyways, except for the lake part. So to me, I wouldn't call it a forest, but that's just me. But anyways, you have this environment already set up where you could have weird things happen as far as deaths go. So I don't understand why you need to have crude jokes thrown into that to get your effect across. On a positive note with that, I do like that they have repeat jokes coming back from the first one. Robbie Amell's character gets kicked in the crotch, and that's a reference to the first movie. You have Bella Thorne who actually shoots herself in the boob, which in the first one, she does something to her boob again. So it's just kind of funny to see some of these jokes kind of carry over from the first one in a very comedic and actual horrific action. I did like the action in this movie. I mean, there are some parts that kind of lull, especially when they're like traveling in the boat across the lake and stuff like that. But there were some pretty cool scenes. I did like I don't know her name, but I like the character Sonia, I think is her name. And I do like the fact that, she's the one that was in Pitch Perfect. I do like her, like the flamethrower. I thought that was pretty cool. So I like her scene. I like this part where Robbie Amell's on a boat. He's getting basically pulled like on a inflatable, raft, I guess, on a lake. So I thought that was a pretty cool scene. So there are some cool scenes in here that I thought the action was really, really good. There's also a lot of lull scenes where it kind of running around, getting chased, and they just kind of seem kind of meh. Now, of course, the horror movie did come here for blood, and with the action, the blood does come, and there is gore. Part of it is CGI, which is, expected. This isn't necessarily like, a box office blockbuster movie, but it's all in good fun, and you kind of don't really care that stuff occurs. But there is a lot of gore, and I do love the bloody action that's involved. I won't go into too many details about what happens to the villains, but you'll see what I'm talking about. But just the various ways that the characters die is awesome, and I really enjoyed it, and I think it just kind of adds to what I liked about the first movie. Okay, and finally, let's talk about the ending. Now, you'll see it for yourself, but in the trailer does a really good job of building up this climax where we see Bee make her final appearance and get out of the water, and you have Cole, who's in a chair, obviously in some sacrificial ceremony, ritual area, and you have Phoebe, strapped to the pole like she's gonna be a sacrifice. So you have all this stuff building up only for the ending to not be what you think. And I just think that it was the wrong decision. I think it would have been better to have more action and gore thrown in there versus what you'll see that actually happens. It was just very anticlimactic. You have this trailer that builds it up, and then the shock and all, like, oh my gosh, Bee's back, watch out, OMG. And then the ending happens and you're like, that's it. So because of that, it kind of killed the movie for me a little bit. You have all this cool action and gore leading up to this ending, and that was it. It just wasn't, it was just kind of like, okay, let's go home. You'll see for yourself what I'm talking about, but that's just not how I would have done it. I think I would have done a little bit differently, at least have some more action and horror involved as far as the gore, and then maybe do something along those lines. But let's just say that there's redemption involved, and it's just not going to give you quite the satisfaction you may want. So as with any movie, there's always the hopes for a sequel, and this movie does deliver as far as a mid-credit scene where the Devil's Book makes an appearance, a final appearance, and the pages turn. So what could that mean? Possibly the Babysitter 3? I think there is probably more story to tell, maybe in the form of a prequel. I don't know if it needs another sequel. I think Cole's story, after the movie's over, he's, got some satisfaction, and he's kind of changed in a little way. So I think he's good. Honestly, I think he's good. But I would think it'd be kind of cool to have a prequel. We do kind of have some backstory as to why Bee is the way she is. But I think it'd be kind of cool to see if maybe this has happened to other characters, like another babysitter or something of that nature. We'll kind of have to wait and see. So should you watch The Babysitter Killer Queen? Well, given that the Rona is still here and we're during a pandemic, I think it's something that you should watch definitely if you watched The Babysitter 1. But I don't think that it lives up quite to the first one. And ironically enough, the first one didn't didn't really get that great of ratings at all, which I don't know why, but I think that this is not as good as the first one. And I know that's a typical cliche that sequels have a hard time living up to the first movie, but it's kind of true. So if you watch the first one, definitely watch the second one because you will get some, good moments and good feels from this one that you got from the first one. But if you've never seen The Babysitter, I would not watch The Babysitter 2, obviously because you should watch them in order to kind of get a good understanding what's going on, but it's not going to do you any good. It's just going to leave you kind of like, especially when you get to the ending, like I kind of wasted an hour and a half of my time. So in saying that, I give The Babysitter Killer Queen 3 out of 5 bloody knives. Sad, but my review kind of matches up with other reviews out there. I basically like a C or 70%. So yeah, there it is. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Babysitter Killer Queen if you've seen it. Don't put any spoilers down in the comments below, guys, if you can. I try not to give any type of details to spoil the movie because I want people that want to see it and kind of get what I'm understanding themselves. So please don't put any spoiler comments below. If you do have an opinion, keep it nice. I had to get in a little spat with somebody on another video because basically he wanted to argue with me about insulting people in the comments, and I thought that was a no-no, so I banned him. So yeah, if you're gonna give comments below, we can have a healthy discussion about the movie. I'm all for it. Just keep it nice. And that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. If you want more videos like this one, hit the notification bell. I'll see you guys next time on The Mashup.